Didn't you put an electric collar around your brother's neck when you were younger?
I did not. He voluntarily did that because we asked him to.
You guys were so mean to Brad.
Our parents had a bark collar for our dogs because they would not.
And you told him to bark?
We told Brad to put it on his neck and bark.
Oh my God.
So
this is terrible.
And it shocked him.
Oh my God.
Bring the band in.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Feast or Famine with the Youngs.
Welcome back to the I Don't Know What I'm Doing podcast featuring
Whoop, whoop.
the two of us whom shall remain nameless because I don't remember that either.
You don't remember your name?
Nope. 'Cause I don't know what I'm doing.
If you could have any name in the world other than your name, what would it be?
Keith.
Get the frick out.
Because it would annoy the crap out of you every day of your life.
That, if you are a Keith and you are listening, tune out for like 2 seconds. That is the most horrendous name, in my opinion.
Hey, you're not the first to say it. It was literally on a Family Guy episode.
There's something about the last part of that name that like gives me major ick.
Are there no other male names or any names that don't?
I also do not like the name Rodney. I do not like that name.
You have other reasons for that.
But also I just think it's not a very attractive name. I think that is not a good name.
That might be from trauma because that was your bio dad's name.
I know, but I also think that it's just not an attractive name.
Because that was your bio dad's name. So that's your equated
Like
to.
Alex.
That's your earliest memory
Trauma?
of that name.
But
so
But in general, like Alex is an attractive name.
I had the hardest time growing up when I was younger saying it.
Saying your name?
Yeah, because the X was tricky. Like when I was little, like early in elementary school.
Yeah. What did you say? Alec?
I said it, but it was just like the X was just like Alex. I don't know. I say it freaking 35 years later, but like I always like felt like I was saying it weird.
Well, take that up with your mom. I don't know.
I don't hate my name. I like my name.
Fun fact, Alex is not even biologically Alexander. He's
Biologically? Biologically.
No, what is the term?
Legally.
Legally, my bad. Biologically. My bad.
Biologically, my name.
Oh, God, my bad. Well, I think we're done. Maybe let's call it a day.
No, I'm just Alex.
Legally, you're just Alex. You're not
and Brad
Alexander.
is just Brad.
Yeah.
And that's,
But Chris is Christopher.
That's because he was the first. And they name him Christopher. But then they
And then
realized
your parents got
they're like,
lazy.
we're having triplets. So saying Bradley, Alexander, Christopher. So they're like, let's just keep it short. Just Brad, Alex, Heather.
Oh, Lord, help me. Okay, anyway. Biologically. Okay, what name would you pick for yourself?
I don't know. I like my name, Alex.
It's top of the alphabet.
Sebastian.
Get out. Why do you have to pick like something so weird?
Because I'm not taking this question seriously.
Oh, God.
What would you pick?
I don't know.
Your name's just fine. Victoria?
No. No, only because that's what I get all the time.
People would actually call you Veronica then.
Probably.
I find it very interesting. Okay, we worked with a planner in Chicago recently whose name is Victoria.
Yes.
So we would have meetings with the couple and they would reference Victoria. And before I realized that the planner's name was Victoria. And I was just like, you hired us for your wedding and you're calling my wife Victoria.
He was getting offended for me.
No, she is Veronica. And then Veronica was like, I didn't say that on the call, but later she was like, that's the planner's name. I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder if she gets called Veronica a lot.
And so we asked her.
And she does. She gets called Veronica all the time, and Veronica gets called Victoria all the time. I don't understand.
I also got Vanessa before, like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now everybody just calls you V.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I think I did that because instead of typing Veronica in text, I just
You
write
don't say,
V.
hey, you don't like call me that, like.
No,
in
but I think
person.
I'm the one who kind of ushered that in because in text threads or text or whatever, instead of typing out Veronica, I just put V and everybody knows who I'm talking about.
I have a few friends who like actually call me that, like in real life, but you don't call me that.
I don't know.
No. Like Marsha and Mark and...
But I think that's because of the text threads.
Yeah, I think so too. Which I'm fine with that.
Because Justin does that.
Mm-hmm. He also calls me a different name.
The one you don't like being called?
Yeah, I don't want to say it.
But he's the only one
I
you
don't
allow?
want to. It's not inappropriate. I just don't want to say it because I don't want other people to call me that because I hate it. Yeah.
Now everybody wants to know.
Well, sorry about you.
Justin also calls you... Wait, which one are you talking about? R or V?
V.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I grew up as...
Your grandmother's name.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm having this popping in my ear. Sorry. I grew up as Ronnie though. Like my mom.
Your mom still calls you that.
Yeah. My sister used to, and into my adult age she doesn't. But yeah, my mom. My dad had always called me Veronica. Always. I don't know why.
What are we even talking about today?
I don't know. This is the I don't know what I'm doing podcast. Today we have kind of an interesting but kind of fun, kind of maybe
Shots fired, triggering.
Offensive topic. These are...
We've gotten a couple more since we actually started this podcast. We've gotten 2 more.
These are trigger words in the wedding industry.
Trigger words.
Okay. So one particular circumstance had this topic like pop up for me, and I was like, this is a really good topic to talk about. And at first it was more so focused on this one topic, but then Alex
started coming up.
Alex had the good idea to do multiple trigger words. So I want to start with the one because
should we start with the one or end with the one? I think we should end. I think we should go through the ones that people are sending in.
Okay.
Then we can do a couple of our own. Then we can see if there's any more. Because I'm hoping people keep, because we waited too long. We changed this like on the fly. So this has only been up for like an hour and a half.
Yeah. We fly by the seat of our pants most days anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. Let's start with yours. Cause you have one that's like really, that gets you.
I'm going to make enemies with this.
Pretty hulky.
And for those of you that are friends with me and you say this, I mean no harm by it. This is just one of those tics.
Go ahead.
People who say, well, the trigger word is...
The trigger word is...
Videographer.
Videographer.
Bro, there is one O
Here we go.
in videographer.
How do you say it?
Videographer.
Okay.
Do you say photographer?
I can't. Every time you say that, I like lose my shit.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I know. It's so funny to me.
VIDEO. Video. GRAPHER. Grapher. Videographer. Videographer. It's not videographer.
You're yelling.
I know. Sorry. I'm passionate. It's one of my pet peeves that just kind of gets buried
yelling.
Deep.
Oh my gosh. This is like that one time when we were with Sean and I was talking about sherbet. And
and we argued because you didn't think there was an R in it. Or you thought there was an R in it.
So tell me in the comments if you're on YouTube or send us a DM or whatever. Is it sherbet or sherbet? How do you say it?
There's not another R. There's one R in sherbet.
So back, like, oh my God, I don't even know. This was
like a year and a half ago. It was recent.
No, babe, no. This was like 6 years ago.
We lived in the house we live in now.
Are you sure?
100%.
We'd have to ask Sean.
It's within the last 4 years.
Okay. We were having this huge argument about how you say it and
how you spell it.
And I was like, it's sherbet. Like I was passionate about the fact.
So we stopped and said, spell it.
And I start spelling it and I spell it correctly in its phonetic spelling, which is sherbet.
She said SHERBET, sherbet. And then she stopped and it was like, silent for a minute.
And then I said, shit. Because I just proved myself wrong. But
anyway, that one gets me all the time. And for those of you that I'm friends with that say that, it's not just you. It's literally, there are so many people out there.
There are a lot of people.
Even on YouTube that are doing video freaking YouTube channels. I cannot watch your YouTube channel if you're a video YouTuber if you don't say videographer right.
Let's see. You pulled it up. on Google Translate.
So when you type in the word videographer, this is what it says it should sound like.
Videographer.
One more time. What was that?
Videographer.
Videographer. Photographer.
Photographer.
Sorry. I had to get that one out of the way because
Oh, Lord.
I was boiling.
Okay, it was boiling. All right. So let's see.
Do you want to start with some of the Instagram ones?
Let's
Or do
just.
you want to start with one of
I
yours?
have a couple of them. This is another one. We'll just keep you on your like high because this one gets you too. I guess it's a term of phrase, right? 6-figure business.
6-figure business, maybe not. Although.
Hitting 6 figures.
Okay, hitting 6 figures. Okay.
That's the one for you. Tell us about it.
It's not that difficult in this industry. It's really not. Year 2, we basically hit it.
Okay. That
Just
sounds
saying.
so cocky.
And it wasn't that hard.
Okay, so let's back up.
Okay.
If you have a goal to hit 6 figures, that is a very good goal because it is something that you can accomplish absolutely 1000% in this industry. If you're doing goal setting, which we have a goal setting podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. And you have a goal to hit 6 figures, that's a productive goal to have because it's not incredibly difficult. It's a very realistic goal.
But that's not why I
But
have a
also
problem
with
with
that
it.
being said, I feel like we need to preface this though.
That's not what I
But
have a
with
problem
that being
with.
said, it's not a negative thing, or
not.
it's not like, oh, 6 figures isn't a lot of money. 6 figures is a freaking F ton of money. Okay. It's a great deal of money. However, in this industry, 30 weddings at $3,000.
Well,
right?
35, 40 weddings at $3,000. I'll give you the
Is-
exact number.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a million.
That's a million.
I took too many zeros. So if
That
you,
is hard to do.
If you want to shoot 30 weddings a year, and you want to make $100,000,
which based off of our experience, about 30 weddings is like a full time. Like you can't have another full time job and do 30 weddings. Like I'm sure you could,
you have
but
to charge
it'd be a lot.
$3,400 a wedding.
Yeah.
That's not that much money, and you can easily book at $3,400.
Yeah.
If you're halfway decent.
So this is a trigger word within the wedding industry professionals,
So
not
before I
with
changed
clients.
the exposure because we were blown out, $3,400 is all you got to make per wedding. 30 weddings a year, you'll make $100,000. Easy. Mm-hmm. I think the average wedding is more than that.
Yeah.
For a photographer.
Mm-hmm. Is your gripe with
My gripe is the wannabe educators.
the educators that are like, take this
I don't
course
want to
and
say wannabe educators. That's mean. There's a lot of really good educators out there.
yes.
There's a handful of really good educators out there. I won't say a lot. There's also a lot of educators out there that are just really good at marketing. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean their course is anything special.
So you're
But almost all. I sat in on a couple really good free workshops, and they were like using that to kind of bring attention to their course that they were selling. They're doing really good. It sounds like, based on what I saw, they've got a really good course that they're pushing. But for whatever reason, once I got out of that, I started getting hit with ads for other educators.
So your gripe in general with the term of phrase 6-figure business is the scammy, sleazy educational opportunities that people put out there to
That's what
hit
they sell
6
you
figures.
on. That's literally what they're selling you on is become a 6-figure photographer.
Okay. I feel
If-
like there's another caveat to this whole thing though that
What?
you're forgetting.
What's that?
Within the conversation of our industry, when people are like,
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So that gripe one is the people that market and they're scammy about it, and like, become a 6-figure photographer and this is how you do it. You book weddings. That's how you do it. It's not difficult, because to book weddings at the price it would take to become a 6-figure photographer, by the way that people look at it, It's not hard. I just told you. $3,400, 30 weddings a year.
Okay.
It's easy to do.
It's easy to do if you have a solid brand, you're good at marketing, you are actually good at your job, etc.
Right.
Okay.
Second thing. Most people that say, I want to hit 6 figures or I'm a 6-figure photographer, whatever, are talking about their gross income. As in the actual amount of bookings that they made. How much actual money came into their account. What they're not telling you is that they're paying second shooters. They're paying for computers. They're paying for cameras. They're paying for insurance. They're paying all these expenses. So they're really not making 6 figures.
Yeah.
In general, in business, your profit margin for this industry is usually roughly 50 to 60%. Meaning, if you sold $100,000 in weddings, you're only going to make profit of 50 to 60,000.
Depending on what your expenses are,
Depending on what your expenses are. But I'm rough, just on an average of 50 to 60% on average.
So, but why you feel that way is because in like forums and like Facebook posts and things like that, some people
You keep moving that.
Maybe he's adjusting my mic for those listening. Some people make themselves to be something that they necessarily are not by saying, my company made 6 figures or I hit 6 figures this year. But they're meaning it in a way that is like they put that much in their pocket.
It's similar to a construction company saying, we sold $10 million. Yeah, they sold $10 million. You didn't make $10 million. Construction equipment is expensive. Material is expensive. Remember 2020 lumber costs?
Okay. Is that pretty much it for you?
That's kind of it.
This is not an Nick's podcast. This is just trigger words, and it kind of is similar, but...
We're going to get to one that's kind of going to ruffle some feathers, I think, though.
Okay.
That's why we're doing that later.
Next one?
But yeah, so six figures.
Okay. Let's go to...
You want to go to one of the Instagram ones?
Yeah, we can go to the ones that some people put in.
Okay. Let me refresh it real quick. I'm not telling Sean's. Because that's not a trigger word for the wedding industry.
He put moist for those wondering, which is a trigger word, but not in our industry.
Your camera is so good. It's not really a word, it's a phrase. But
yeah.
Or your camera takes really good pictures.
That's really funny. You said something earlier that made me like actually LOL. And it was, I don't know what you said, and some of these people might not know, but I'm going to go ahead and change it. Your analogy was... it was similar to this. It wasn't this. It was similar, but it was.
Quit tilting your mic up.
Stop griping at me. Your drums play really good drums.
I said your Nord plays really good piano.
Yeah, which I don't know.
Nord is a brand really nice kind of keyboard.
Yeah, keyboard. I think that is so funny. When we were at the Luke Combs concert, I was taking video of like one of his songs, and I heard the guy ask you. He goes, "What kind of camera is that?"
He said, "What kind of phone does she have?" I said, "It's just an iPhone."
He's like, "Oh, it's really good.
The video quality on that looks really good. Mine's all super hazy and stuff."
But
and I told Veronica, I said, "It's because she's exposing it. It's because you're exposing it."
So I mean, just like with the simplest like thing like that. I think that he had the same phone as me, by the way. Like, I think that it was like exactly the same, or it was like maybe an older version of the iPhone.
Could have been a newer version.
Who knows? When you have brightness on the iPhone, just expose lower. Like, because I was able to get the lights and the haziness and everything. And so, if he was taking a video, everything would have been blown out. Right.
Well, and that's because the environment was dark, but the stage was bright. So it automatically exposes for the environment as a whole.
Yeah.
But you want to expose for the stage, which is already bright, so you bring it down because you want to expose for the stage. It's the same thing on a camera. The little exposure bar on the bottom is the average exposure. So even though the image is exposed properly, it could say on that bar on the bottom that you're overexposed.
But I've had people at like weddings and stuff ask me, "Oh, what kind of camera is that? I saw the back of your camera and like the photos look like..."
It takes really good photos.
It takes really good photos. I'm like, It does. Like, you know what? It does. It obviously, like, I have a good camera to do my job well. But also the camera isn't what has the skill. Like, I have the skill.
Right. You shot on a 5D Mark III until 2 years ago.
Yeah.
How old was that camera?
I mean, it was old.
That's an old camera.
Half of my first year of my career was on a T3i, right?
Right. T3i and a 70D.
We are very big believers in mastering the equipment that you have and not letting new equipment take advantage of how good you can become at your skill.
Not relying on new equipment to do your job. Like, if you can't do the job with the gear you already have, new gear is not really going to make you exponentially better at what it costs you.
Right. Yeah.
Diminishing returns. That's what it's called. The law of diminishing returns.
Okay.
Do another one from the Graham.
Yeah, that's fine.
You can just Photoshop that out, right? You can Photoshop this out later, right?
Yeah. I don't love that because, I mean, everybody's different with this type of stuff. Every photographer is different. I don't want to give my whole spiel on here, but short answer is no, I will not.
I mean, you will if you need. Like, if the environment is tricky to shoot in and there's like a trash can that you literally can't move and it just happened to be in the shot, you couldn't hide it. Yeah, you're going to edit that out, but
yeah,
it's not as simple as that.
I think it's like, I've had it happen a lot where like bridesmaids have like a spot on their dress and they're like, oh, you can just Photoshop that out. I like, for sure I can if it's even necessary. I think most of the time those things aren't necessary because you can't even see them in the photo, or that's not the point of the photo, so you're not going to notice it, things like that. Now, if it's something that's going to be like blown up on the wall and it's of the couple and there's like a red fire extinguisher, I'm going to Photoshop that out because it's like, I know that that's like an iconic shot for them. But like, short answer, no.
You can, I'm just not gonna.
I'm not gonna.
It's like, that's why I like being with you when we're doing video and photo, because I can just be like, nah, you can't do that.
Can't do that in video.
You can do that in video.
You can do that in video, but it takes a lot.
Far more complicated.
Yeah.
And I mean, AI is making it a lot easier, but
yeah,
I'm just like, no, you can't do that in video.
I messed around. I didn't tell you about this, but I messed around with the AI Photoshop thing. Mm-hmm. It did not work well for me. Like, I've seen so many TikTok videos of it working so well for people.
The scene
like the
change.
fill, yeah. The generative fill or whatever.
Yeah, I did that on a not Illustrator, shoot, what's it called? After Effects. I tried that on After Effects once. Mm-hmm. It turned out horrible.
Mine turned out really bad.
It's got to be the proper conditions for it to actually work right.
Yeah, mine didn't turn out that great.
All right, saying. Next one. This is an actual word.
Okay.
Shooter.
Yeah. Which I'm guilty of that.
I'm guilty of that too, but we try to stop ourselves. But like, you're not shooting weddings. You're photographing weddings or
capturing
weddings or,
Or second shooter.
Second photographer, second videographer.
Mm-hmm. I really should get better about saying that. Okay. Here's one that I feel like is going to need explanation and some like educational background, yeah. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because it's not even within the industry anymore. It's now starting to become a term of phrase for clients. Like, I literally had a client say this to me a couple days ago on a call.
What are you going to say?
What are you going to say? The anticipation. Oh my gosh.
Do I know what you're going to say?
You do. Light and airy and dark and moody.
Oh, yeah.
In reference to style of editing and photography.
As if those are the only two styles that exist.
Correct. Because it's not. And our work is neither. And that's why it's kind of like a trigger. I think it's a trigger for certain people. It's not for others.
Like, if you are dark and moody or light and airy, probably not a trigger.
No.
But I feel like even photographers that are in those categories are also something else.
Yeah. I don't think that it's just one of those and that's it. Obviously there are like some brands and some photographers that like you look at that and like that's very true descriptions. They're light and bright and like feels like there's lots of like breath and freshness in their photos, so it's light and airy. And you know, there's other photos.
Overexposed.
Alex.
And there are a lot of people that think overexposed is light and airy, and that's not it. That's not
well,
the case.
and I've gotten, you know, I've had couples say that to me, like, we're not looking for light and airy or overexposed photos, and they connect those two on their own.
I think that just comes down to inexperienced photographers that say they're light and airy that are just overexposed images.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the dark and moody and
or underexposed. It's the same thing.
Or like crushed shadows and like a warm undertone. And
I think moody is the only word that actually fit in that.
Well, that's
properly.
what I'm saying is like when I feel like when people say dark and moody, they're meaning like with like warm editing and skin tones and like everything is just very like warm,
and
which isn't even necessarily true.
Warm, though, because I've seen cooler toned edits that would be considered dark and moody because they're moody. Horror films, for example, are moody films, and they're usually all edited and color graded to a blue tone.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that in the photography world, I would venture to say that most people would agree that dark and moody is a warmer, darker image. And that you kind of prove my point. It's not the end all be all, whereas light and airy or dark and moody, because there's so many different styles of photography. I'm not saying one is the right way. I'm just saying there's so many different styles that it doesn't fall necessarily between those two.
Those two categories only.
Yeah.
You can be one, but you're also probably something else as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like editorial Vogue style can be moody also.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily dark.
Or they're not just documentary.
Right.
Yeah. So like, I will go ahead and just confess this right now. Someone said to me recently that our work was light and airy. And I was like, how dare you? No, it is not.
She was triggered.
I was like, no, no, it's not. Our work is timeless. That's how I call it. But it also, honestly, is a little moody sometimes. Like when we have like certain like moments that call for like a like dark black and white,
like
grainy,
exposed for the highlights, basically.
Yeah, grainy image. Like there's a moment for that. And I had another client recently tell me, I've noticed throughout your portfolios that in photos that you edit your photos specifically for the weddings. And I was like, you're my favorite person on the planet. Yes, I do. Like, I feel like every wedding that we shoot has intentionality behind it. And so I obviously want my photos to reflect all the work and the vibe that the couple and the planner and everything that they're putting towards.
But with that said, we're not out there being like, okay, this is a dark and moody, for example, wedding, so we're going to shoot it like this. And then we do creatively shoot the wedding.
With intention.
I'm saying shoot, and we just called that out.
I know.
With intention of
capturing the vibe
and the feeling of the day. But we are also like the colors are true to what you saw in person. We want you to look at the photos and look at the video and know exactly what that color was. It was pink. It wasn't white. Mm-hmm. That was a dark green. That wasn't black.
Yeah. And I think another thing that I feel like just kind of needs to be said for my own like awareness, not my own awareness, but like for my own, so other people know, our work across the board also is consistent. So not only do we make sure to capture a day the way that the vibe calls for, but I also make sure that all of our photos and all of my work is consistent so people know what to expect. Mm-hmm. A good example of this would be, we had an Indian wedding back in 2020, and they had a huge like floral installation on every single table. The room itself was relatively dark, very dramatic decor.
Oh, and they had like lighting, like they actually put in light fixtures to like accentuate all the florals.
Yeah. And I, as a photographer, went into that room. I'm like, this room needs to be photographed the way that they are. They want it to feel romantic and by candlelight and intimate, even though
but also epic.
Because the room is massive. The floral installations are tall. So I'm not going to come in there, with 50 different flashes to brighten up the entire space and show everything. I'm going to make it look super dynamic and dramatic. And so I photographed the room with a very dynamic lighting setup, very dramatic photos to make it look epic with the florals and the high florals.
But the colors were proper.
Now, if we have an outdoor wedding, it's going to be bright. It's outside. It's going to be...
Unless it's dark, unless it's nighttime with like bistro lights.
Yeah.
That's a different vibe.
So that's an example of like why I say I shoot every wedding with intention on how it should be captured with what they're trying to go for.
You're matching the vibe of the day.
Yeah.
But still presenting it accurately. Mm-hmm. And when I say accurately, I'm going to touch color again. Color accuracy.
Yeah, and maintaining my style.
Right.
Yeah, because that's what they hired me for.
Because you're not going to go through our feed and see like it, and it looked like multiple different photographers.
Right.
Did all these different weddings.
Right, because it's important to maintain.
It's all the same. It's cohesive.
Right.
Let's see if there's more. I'm going to do another double check.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So the next one that we have is the term luxury.
The term luxury. This could be a whole freaking
podcast. It really
podcast series.
Mm-hmm. A series, yeah, it really could, honestly.
It really could. In general, I think a lot of people see the word luxury when it comes to weddings, and the first and only thing they think about
is money.
Not the only thing, but it all relates to money, as in high dollars. I want to be in the luxury market. I want to photograph, a luxury wedding.
Yeah.
I want to be a luxury photographer. Mm-hmm. They see that, but I think the intention behind it is not, it is and it isn't the money, because it also means these extremely extravagant weddings. Mm-hmm. But those also cost money. So it all comes back to the money.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It is like that, but it isn't like that. That's a very surface level way to put it.
Okay. What is it like?
Luxury is an experience.
Amen, brother. Yeah, it is, for real.
Go ahead. Talk about the experience. Briefly. Because we obviously could talk about this. This could be a whole thing. There's courses. There's actually one course specifically that is talking that helps people understand the luxury market and get into it properly. But it's not a buzzword.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really, I mean, for us, what it means to us and what it means to our company and our brand, because we do label ourselves as luxury photographers and videographers, it is based off of the experience that we offer. It also is the experience that we have. Mm-hmm. We value what we do. And so we expect other people to understand our value. And
when you say other people, you mean other vendors or other
clients?
Okay.
We were just talking about this, about how a luxury client will sometimes or can sometimes
usually do
find a vendor that is a certain price and it might be suspiciously low.
Right.
And I made the comment, why would they value you if you don't value yourself?
Right. So
by giving discount after discount,
and not even just discounts aside, if you're not giving discounts, but your prices are below what most of the people in their budget range are charging, they're not going to look at you because they're going to think they're not going to get the product that they are expecting, or the experience that they're expecting.
It's like, what's the catch?
Right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that number?
Yeah. So there's that. But then also, like I said, the experience that we offer. You know, we do reveal parties at our studio, and it's just part of the experience that we have. Is it a tangible thing that's included in our package price-wise? Yes and no.
Well,
like that's kind of like a complicated question, but like it's just part of the like it's why we cost what we do, is because we're giving
it's attention to detail.
Yeah, we're giving an experience to our clients that is unlike anybody else's.
Like we'll put out fires that you'll never know about.
Quite literally.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't put the fire out.
No.
But, and then like we've said this before, and planners say it all the time, like when you're at a wedding, regardless of what they paid you, if you want to be considered a luxury photographer or vendor, it's not my job doesn't exist in your vocabulary.
Yep.
There's a piece of trash, you pick that sucker up, put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
We have had recently this year, we had a wedding downtown that cocktail hour was happening upstairs, and we were doing details downstairs, but tornado sirens were going off, so we needed to get everybody downstairs, but the tables weren't finished being set, because when we do photos of details, we want the tables with no salt shakers, no water glasses, stuff like that. So we stopped working.
We both were like, do we feel like we have enough? Yes.
Yes, we have enough.
We have enough.
So let's do it. The two of us, the DJ, we just started placing
the water glasses
with actually the team.
With the catering company, yeah.
And just made sure that everything was ready to go so people can get downstairs and be safe.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the team element of a wedding day.
Yeah.
Regardless of if it's your company or not.
Right, exactly. Also, it's, you know, realizing, you know, expectations. And we like to do next day previews. That's something that we just feel is important for our brand. I'm not saying it's important for every wedding photographer to do that.
Do we hit that mark every time?
No.
We miss sometimes, just because sometimes we have 2 weddings in a row.
Yeah.
And that makes it very difficult.
And I'm realistic. I communicate, you know, and I tell them that, hey, we have a wedding tomorrow, or, you know, I am going to be out of town, or, you know, whatever the case, and I'll let them know when to expect them. But more often than not, I would say 98% of the time, I have a next day preview. And even if I know I'm not going to be able to post them, I will email them.
Right.
Even if I can't do 10 like I would like to, and I can only do 3,
something.
Like I will give you something. And now, because technology is freaking awesome, I can like drop photos to my phone, and so almost always I'll have something next day, regardless. So I think it's just more of the experience that you're providing for your clients. And a lot of that has to do with like our mindset and our intention going into the wedding day. And we've talked about that before. But yeah, luxury is not just dollar signs.
No. And one more thing I'll mention when it comes to luxury is there's a lot of fluff that goes into the luxury market in general, as far as like when people talk about it or present it, or some educators present it. It's not all fluff.
I think
there's a lot. The closer to and further into luxury weddings you get, the more stressful they are.
Yeah. I mean, this is more of a message for like newer entrepreneurs or photographers, videographers. If you are coming into the wedding space and you have the aspiration of photographing luxury events or weddings, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. I think that is a great goal, and I love it here. Like I love it here. I love the people. I love what we get to do. But it is not for the faint of heart, and it's high pressure. You have to know how to wear a lot of hats on the wedding day, other than just doing your actual job. Because there's a huge team aspect about it, like we've talked about. it's a lot. Sometimes you have 5 minutes for something that would typically take you 15. And you have to fly by the seat of your pants a lot.
You might get changes within days before the wedding that
on the wedding day,
on the wedding day that completely alter the timeline that you've already gotten.
You have to be able to pivot and pivot well. And just do the damn thing. Now, we are, in that space right now, but there's even
there's levels above.
There's levels above where we're at, like the Jose Villa, like Lindsay with Larev, Multimedia, like those are vendors that are shooting. Those are vendors that are photographing events that are unlike anything we have ever done. I think we have done like maybe one like that.
I wouldn't even say that.
But that was still kind of a different.
To that level, but it was a little different, yeah.
I mean, Lindsay literally photographed.
At the White House.
Like, that's insane. I can't imagine the amount of pressure.
And stress.
That went into that. And like how like you really just have to have your shit together. I would love to talk to him about that. Him and Cherish. But like, there's a whole other quote unquote luxury space that we haven't even gotten to. That is probably far more pressure than what we're used to.
You're talking about NDAs constantly.
Yeah. Like, you just have to know that it's not for the faint of heart. Like, yeah, you can get some epic opportunities and some epic details, but like at the end of the day, like that's not what it's about.
Right.
Which we have talked about. So
yeah, like I said, this could be a completely like full series of podcasts. Maybe we'll pull some people in that are in that world and actually make it that. We'll see.
Okay. Do you want to check one more time to see if we got?
And then we're gonna hit this one that
we can do another series if we get more later today. Okay, this is like the one.
This is the one that started this whole idea and topic.
Yeah. So I made a post on Instagram about a client that sent me her, here's the trigger word, shot list. Shot list. And I talked about how I loved it, which was very interesting.
Photographers usually do not love shot lists.
It was interesting to other clients of mine. It was interesting to other photographer friends of mine. And let me break it down for like kind of what it looked like. Okay. So this bride sent me her shot list, and I had previously asked for her family formal list.
We always do that.
Okay. We always ask for the family formal list.
List of names and groupings for family photos.
Yes. If you are working with us, or if you're going to work with us, the only list that I will ask you for is family formals. And I'll tell you that I want everyone's name and each group combination. Okay. Very detailed. And she gave me this PDF. I think it was 4 pages. And
very well organized.
And it had each individual person with a headshot,
so we know what they look like. Which that to me was like, holy shit, this is actually amazing. That's the second time we've gotten some like crazy awesome help with family formals.
And
this year.
One of the reasons, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. One of the reasons why I loved that section of what she gave me is because if I am doing those family formals and I need my other photographer to go get someone, I can give her this PDF, show her I need father of the bride, and she will know what he looks like because they gave me a photo, which is great. And she'll know the name because it's on there. Okay. So that was amazing. She gave me the name and the like correlation to the family.
Right.
And then the headshot. Okay. And then after that, she put her like, I don't want to like say it wrong. It was basically like her expectation or like vision for.
Well, she gave the like groupings also.
Yeah, she gave the groupings.
That was the groupings for the family formals.
So like it was like a 2-page for the family formals. That was like the main thing. And then after that, she put inspo photos. And And
this is where a lot of photographers would be turned off.
yes. So she put inspo, and she put like shots of like what she wanted, like on the morning of the wedding day, and then at the church, and then at reception. And by that, I mean, it was like maybe 3 things from each part of the day.
Right. And it was more for inspiration. Like, these are the things that she gravitates towards. It's no different than you going to an interior designer and saying, I like these things, and that's what I'm more drawn to before they design your living room.
Well, yes, you are correct. But she also actually put she also actually like put items that she wanted photographed, like shots that she wanted to get.
Yeah.
And it was things like, these are her actual examples. Okay. So it was like the cufflinks, because they're very specific cufflinks. Her veil, because it's embroidered and it has like a saying on it. Mm-hmm. So these are things that I already actually have put in my questionnaire. Like, what are some things that I need to know to photograph in case
like
I might
have some sort of reason behind it. Like,
yeah,
we had a bride that had a veil made out of her grandmother's dress.
Yeah. So like
that her mom also wore the dress on her wedding.
Right. Now, if a client was giving a photographer that not in a list, they'd be like, oh yeah, of course. But if they got a shot list, like quote unquote shot list
written down,
they would fall over. Like, they would have a cow.
I don't take shot lists. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. So another thing that she put on there was on her inspo, she wrote it into like her shot list, and then she also put a picture to reference that she pulled from like Pinterest or something. And it was a photo of her with the back of her dress open. So it was more of a boudoir approach to her bridal dress.
Of the getting ready spot.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I would not typically do that. I would not typically get a shot like that, especially because you are with me. But also, it's just not something that I would, get unless I was asked for it.
Right.
But knowing that she wants that.
Now we know.
Now I know. You don't know what you don't know. So I feel like I was like, oh, that's great. Totally open for that. And then after that, she put photos of mine that she loved. And I loved that because she was like, this is what I'm gravitating towards specifically in your work. Like,
that we've actually done. Yeah.
Like, I know that obviously she loves all of our work because she hired us, but these are the images that she absolutely loves. And I shoot every wedding day with intention. I'm a broken record here, but knowing that this bride loves certain things that are pretty unique, the ones that she pulled from my portfolio, gives me a good idea that
of the vibe she wants.
I know that I have to make sure that I deliver something like this.
Right.
And I don't think that there is anything wrong with that. I actually really appreciated it. And it made me feel good because she was looking for inspo from my portfolio. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the time when it comes to photographers not wanting a shot list or saying, I don't take shot lists, it comes down to communication or
100%.
Or lack thereof.
Right. Like, a lot of the times it's when you get it, you're offended, like, oh, I don't know how to do my job. Most of this stuff I'm already going to shoot. Mm-hmm. Have you communicated that?
Yeah.
Your approach, is that on your website? Is it very clear in your galleries that that's the kind of stuff you get?
Right.
If it's not, then, because communication is more than just directly emailing or talking to the couple. Mm-hmm. It's also what you show on your social media, what you show on your website, what you say on your website.
Yep. And what you deliver in your galleries. I mean, communication it's a broad spectrum of different things with what you're providing to your client or your prospective client.
And even planners, for example, like, we'll get lists from planners and we don't think anything of it. Yeah, it's a list of things a lot of times that, we're already going to get most of this stuff. But when there's a planner or designer and the couple takes put so much energy into all these specific details, you want to make sure you're getting all of them. So having them in a list is actually going to help, especially for the details.
Yes.
Because, for example, we had a wedding last year that there were specific like details, like I think were they kids' pictures of the bride and the groom in the bathroom on the sink.
Which I wouldn't have known that because I don't go in the men's bathroom.
I don't typically go to the bathroom during receptions anyway.
Yeah, I might like wash my hands and that's it.
So had we not,
but I won't take my camera.
Had we not been told that those were there, we would have never gotten those details.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, within that list, it was, and this was from the planner. It was not from the client. It was reaction of like the groom with the bride walking down the aisle, back of the dress shot. Like it was standard photos that I would get, but I was not offended that they sent those. That's just them doing their due diligence, giving me that list.
Right. And you mentioned the reaction of the groom when the bride's walking down the aisle. The fact that there's a specific mention of that means that I'm expecting the groom to have some sort of reaction, which means that's more important to get even.
I mean, we would get it anyway.
We get it anyway, but there's a lot of times where there's not really much of a reaction.
Yeah.
Maybe a smile, but mostly stoic.
Yeah.
But there's times when the groom gets emotional. Having it specifically on a list tells me, oh, he's going to react.
Yeah.
Because it was important enough to put, that means that's going to happen.
Right. I think also, you know, specifically with this one client that we have that gave me this list, and this is going to go back to that communication thing. From the very beginning, always set up very clear communication with all of our couples. You know, also just part of our branding and the way that we run our business, we are very intentional about the connections and the communication that we do have with them. We're very realistic, but we're kind. And I think it's a two-way street. When photographers are getting shot lists from their client or getting Pinterest shots or things like that, I feel like there might have been somewhere in your booking process that there was a gap in that communication or something that was missed. Because for me, I didn't feel like that bride didn't trust me getting that. I know her, so I know it's not coming from a place of distrust, her giving me this list. It's coming from, I know her. I know that. I know
coming from a personality of attention to detail.
Yeah,
not all couples are like that.
And she pays very close attention to detail. She is very type A, very well organized, and it's going to ultimately make her feel better to give me this list. And I know that about her, so I'm not going to be offended getting that. It's going to make me feel good knowing that she felt comfortable communicating that to me, because the communication is a two-way street and the trust is a two-way street. Does your client trust you enough that they either feel like they don't have to give you a shot list, or they can just communicate with you openly about their expectations?
Right.
And do you trust your client enough that it's not going to be this like hasty, uncomfortable conversation that you feel like you have to have with them? How many times are you going to fix my mic in this episode?
You keep moving it up.
So it's just, it all comes down to communication. And I think that I do have a very unpopular opinion about shot lists.
We have a lot of unpopular opinions for weddings that a lot of vendors are just like, huh?
Yeah. And, you know, I'm not trying to like...
It works for us, so we're going to keep doing it.
I am by no means like dragging other photographers. I know a lot of other photographers are just as open as I am about like sharing inspiration and sharing ideas, because that's what it's ultimately about.
I think what you're more referring to when you bring this up is complaints and problems that arise in given situations, such as getting a shot list. You know the couple. You know, they know you, they know us. So getting the shot list isn't something that's this crazy thing. But if you have a situation where there was that lapse in communication, there is offense that can be taken from it. And that's with any sort of problem that I've ever seen at a wedding in between the vendor and the client. It comes down to that there was a lack of communication.
I think it's also like, a lot of photographers want to feel like they have creative freedom. I think it comes a lot from that, and they don't want to be pigeonholed into capturing certain shots a certain way. They want it to naturally unfold and capture that as it happens, which I get that. And I am on that side, actually. Right. Like I do agree with that. But also, as the photographer of the day, you also kind of wear a hat of a director. Mm-hmm. So if you know that there are certain expectations from your client, it is your job to direct in a manner to make sure that that can happen.
Right. And like on a shot list, for example, I think one of the biggest things is like, I want this specific picture is what people are probably mostly thinking about when they think of a shot list. Mm-hmm. This exact picture, this setup, this kind of location.
Pose,
but as a photographer, you have to get ahead of that immediately and say, we can try to do something like this, mm-hmm. but then setting the expectations properly mm-hmm. so that they know this was a photo taken in a very specific location at a very specific time of the day. There's not necessarily going to be an opportunity to do that.
Right.
It's not going to look the same even if we do it.
Well, and I've had couples before, like they have like an iconic pose or something that they do at like every milestone or every time they get their photo taken. You and your brother used to have one that you do all mm-hmm. the time, and you did it on our wedding day. Mm-hmm. So those things are common, and I wouldn't necessarily know that unless they told me.
Right.
So that would maybe be something that is on a shot list, this specific pose. But again, it comes down to communicating back and forth with your client and knowing and understanding what those expectations are.
And what you want, like on the questionnaire.
Yeah.
What is important for me to know as far as me to do my job better.
Yeah.
So that when it comes to, hey, I have a shot list, there's not like some sort of weird animosity about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you come out the gates as a photographer saying, absolutely zero shot list, the client might be more hesitant to actually even tell you that part, and then they're not going to get that photo.
Yeah.
And then be upset that they didn't get that photo.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I always describe it and explain it is, I would hope that you trust my creative process and, my flow on the day of. But if there is something specific that you think that I wouldn't naturally or organically capture, please tell me. Please let me know. Because again, I don't know what I don't know. So if there's something that you just feel like you need to tell me that you want captured, or there's a certain pose or just something that you've always envisioned for your day in general, because again, this is your day. This is not about me. Please tell me, because I want to make sure that you're getting everything that you dreamed of on your day. And communication is just a big, big part of that. So I feel like in general, the trigger word is shot list, but I want to encourage you, if you're a photographer, to have more of an open mind about it.
You are the photographer. You are the authority figure in that client-vendor relationship mm-hmm. when it comes to photography. So you ultimately get the ability to define what a shot list is.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get specific exact poses given to you, communicate that. A shot list does not have to be negative.
Yeah.
If you don't want it to be, because you're the authority.
And again, like you have to know the intentions behind it if it does come. But if you do get a shot list from a planner or a client, it's not necessarily a bad thing, and you don't have to take offense to it. But again, that comes with knowing and understanding where it's coming from. Are they giving you this because there's a little bit of miscommunication or distrust?
Is it your first time working with that planner and they haven't actually worked with you before?
Yeah.
Because that could also be part of it.
Yeah. Or is it just part of the process? I just thought that was interesting. One of the DMs that I got about this when I shared about it publicly was from a past bride of ours, and she was like, I don't think that I would have ever given you a shot list because I didn't want you to get mad at me.
Which is sad.
I was like, I would never be mad at you. I would never get mad at you.
And it comes from a place of probably knowing and hearing stories about photographers that get mad about shot lists.
Yeah.
Because we never once gave her that impression.
No, not once. So I don't know if that came from like an outside, like one of her friends had that experience with their photographer or something.
I would argue that that's probably the case.
Or I don't know if she like read a blog that was like a shot list is a no-no or, whatever. But I know that I never gave that intention. And she also followed it up with, I didn't feel like I needed to. But yeah, I was like, oh gosh, I would never get upset with that. So yeah, I just think it comes down to communication. So that was like the biggest one that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was interesting. I feel like I had other points on it, but I can't really think about it right now. And we've been podcasting a lot today.
Yeah, we're up to an hour on this one. That's unusual for the two of us only.
I know.
I'm going to check the Instagram one more time.
My mouth is like so dry from talking so much today.
No more.
Okay.
Boring.
That's okay. Well, I think this one was interesting. Kind of like an Ix, but like not.
Yeah, it kind of turned into sort of like an Ix one.
Yeah.
My bad. It started that way.
It started that way for sure.
I was triggered because of one of them.
Yeah. Well, it's a trigger word.
It is. Literally.
Yeah, literally. All right, guys. I think that's it that we have for this one.
Second apology for the lighting situation.
It's okay. Just listen to it.
The sun is not happy.
Just listen on the Spotify or
Just don't
Google.
look at us.
Speaking of listening, if you are listening on Spotify or
Apple
or
Google or Audible or anywhere that there is our podcast. Most of you, I think, are listening to us on Apple, though.
Yeah. Please leave us a review if you're liking it. We would love that. We would really appreciate that.
That's how we get boosted in the ratings.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd really appreciate that. So, okay. Any final words, Mr. Young?
I don't think so.
I thought you were going to say Mr. Young is my father.
I'm old man now, so I don't think I'm allowed to say that anymore.
I think you are definitely allowed to say that.
Okay. Mr. Young is my father.
Oh, God. All right, guys. We will see you on the next one. Peace.
Telling my sis, don't worry about it. Telling my fam, don't worry about it. Everyone here, don't worry about it.